first, let me just say I saw on Twitter that Ashley Johnson is going through a rough time. So I just want to send her my support and hope she is safe and doing well. It's really none of anyone's business, so I won't say any more unless Ashley decides to share her story. Until then, I hope everyone respects her privacy. But we are here to discuss what happened with Bell's Hells in April, and there is a lot to talk about. I am Daisy X Machina. You can call me Ms. Daisy if you're nasty, the drag queen who is the detective who investigates all things speculative in fantasy, sci-fi, and horror. Once a month, I do an analysis of Critical Role in terms of storytelling, and we have finally found out what is happening with the second half of the party, namely Laudna, Orym, and Ashton. But before we get there, we have to finish up with Imogen, Fern, FCG, and Chetney, who have been joined by Chetney's old girlfriend Deanna, and Frida, the Aeromaton, who is in love with FCG. In episode 57, the party finally gets to Molasmere, the abandoned elvish city where Ludinus once lived, and where we hope to find answers to what he's been up to regarding Rudius. Whatever happened in Molasmere in the past has left it sick and corrupted, filled with ghosts and mutants. The most interesting mutant is something called the Wolf King, which is this weird 5-headed wolf that shares one body and the front half pulls the back like a chariot or something. I have to say, I was having trouble visualizing this creature, but the more I learned about it, the more amazing it seemed. The party manages to hide from it, but you have to wonder, what would have happened if they actually fought it? But they make their way to a mage tower where Ludinus once lived. They find some notes that seem to indicate Ludinus was researching maybe how to become a god and celestial phenomena. And while Chetney investigates the upper level, he encounters some sort of ooze creature, and that's where the episode ends. In episode 58, we pick up the battle between the party and the ooze. And this is a pretty tough creature that almost kills Fern. And I kept being reminded of games I've played because I hate oozes. I think every player character hates them because they dissolve things, like flesh and magic items. During this fight, a fire goes out of control and they have to abandon the tower, but not before they get some interesting items, including a staff. Now, I always or usually liked playing a wizard, and staves were a big deal, at least when I played, so I was excited to see a staff. It seems to do damage to the wielder, but it can also teleport. The other thing they found is some sort of harness with a funnel, which is apparently used to siphon energy from divine beings, maybe. It could have been a prototype of the technology Ludinus used during the apogee solstice. They also find some notes, which looks like maybe Ludinus was siphoning energy from powerful fae. We do get more information on Rudius, and if you're really interested in a deep dive into Rudius lore, this episode is for you. In the end, Imogen uses a staff to teleport to Drusar, but the episode ends before we find out what happens with the teleport. Now, we've also been told that people who have been teleporting never return or disappear. Could it be they have teleported to that mysterious city on Rudius? Just throwing it out there. But we don't find out in the next episode, episode 59, because that's when we jump back to the other party, Laudna, Orym, and Ashton. They also have been bamfed away from the ritual site of the apogee solstice, but I don't think as far as the other party, though honestly, the geography is confusing me at this point. Let's just say they're isolated somewhere far away, near some chasm. The episode is mostly reorienting ourselves with these characters who I've missed so much. But, of course, they're joined by some guest characters. Not one, not two, but 3 guest characters. The first one they meet is Denise the Dwarf, played by Amy Carrero, who plays Denise as some sort of Banji Latino warrior who's a hard ass. She's apparently a barbarian rogue, and she's going to be a lot of fun.
Oh, hey.
Who are you?
Do you live here?
No? Do I look like I live here?
No.
I'm sweating, first of all. Where the fuck are we?
I don't know.
Were you at the excavation site? Were you a part of the moon ritual?
No.
Where were you an hour ago? On the planet.
I was in Taldore. I was looking for my fucking ex-fiance who left me in a lurch. I was about to find him, and all of a sudden, poof, loud noise, crack, here I am. Some guy talking, here I am.
Wait, he left you?
Yeah.
What an asshole.
Oh, it's a very long story.
Oh my God.
Well, I saw my dumb fuck ex-fiance's face from 100 feet away. I was about to go grab his ass. And then I saw the sky, I looked up and there was all these colors and stuff, right? And then there was a voice. Like a speech.
Wait, did it sound like it came from a crusty old elven man?
Yes.
Pretentious.
Super pretentious.
Super pretentious.
Yes. Like, he didn't think he could smell his own farts.
Yeah.
That kind of a voice.
Kind of like that. That's right. And then a crack.
But you were in Taldore.
Yeah.
You could hear lewdness.
You know that guy?
Continent.
What did the sky look like at the end?
Well, I was just kind of focused on the one guy.
Okay.
But it was a real bright thing. And then here I am, hot as fuck.
The second character they encounter is Bor'Dor, played by Utkarsh Umdekar, who plays Bor'Dor as some sort of sheep farmer who apparently just discovered he can do magic, like casting lightning bolts. So he's some kind of sorcerer. He also is hilarious, playing someone completely out of their depth and super cowardly.
Carefully.
Oh my, that was not cool of me. I'm really sorry. I'm very scared. I have no idea where I am or what's going on. I was on the mountain, and then I was with my sheep, and I've never.
Fair.
I was in the Sirios Mountains of the Dwendalian Empire. Dwendalian?
No, you
You got it.
got it.
You nailed it. I can see it in my mind's eye.
Wildemount. Pride's Call.
Yep.
But
You want to give us your fucking street address?
far. I wish I could. We don't have many neighbors. It's just sort of us on the mountain.
And you're a sheep herder.
It's what I've been doing since I was a boy. Yes. Yeah.
Oh, thank God we're saved now.
I was tending to the sheep at night, and I felt a humming all around me. I've been sort of alone. I've been caring for my sick brother. I was tending to my brother, and I felt this warm hum around me, and then I looked at him, and there was a voice came into my head. Not he didn't speak to me, but I heard something, a droning of sorts, and then my face got hot, and I felt a pain in my forehead, and then I ended up here.
Did it happen to sound like the voice of a very pretentious man?
Yeah, maybe it's
Farts don't stink.
Yes.
someone smart for sure. Someone who sounded like they knew what they were talking about.
I get the impression that this guest player may not have played much D&D before. Actually, I'm not sure if Denise's player has either, but with Bor'Dor, it's going to be interesting. The final guest player is so far my favorite, Prism Grim Poppy, played by Emily Axford, who I would hazard to guess is a more experienced D&D player. The reason she's my favorite is she plays the type of character I always played, an OG wizard She also has this funny backstory of being an apprentice to an organization called the Cobalt Soul, and she's on a mission to gather information about the apogee solstice. She is also funny and has this awesome sentient magic spellbook.
I am coming out of a tense conversation with a book. Hello. Hi. Do any of you, or all of you, if I am so lucky, have time to participate in a short, brief survey about your experience with the apogee solstice?
Whoa.
Fucking sucked.
Well, don't underestimate the forethinking of the Cobalt Soul. And then I kind of show off a little insignia.
Do we know what that is? Or would any of us know what that is?
A number of you have probably heard of it.
But basically, I'm just an apprentice so far. But I think I can still say we, right?
Apprentices are part of the organization. Like, if you take ownership in your station.
But don't forget to remember your place.
Okay. Yeah, right, okay.
Wait, where'd that come
That
from?
was a sourceless voice.
Wait,
Didn't use?
you have a friend?
Didn't use? Hold on, just 1 second. I'm just gonna stay with me though, but I'm gonna leave. Denise, I'm gonna need you to not talk back to me in front of these
No.
people. Okay, so when the Cobalt Soul sent me here, I'm not exactly of the standard. Basically, they sent me with a sentient book chaperone. Introduce yourself.
She holds up this tome of kind of black and brown leather with silver runes inscribed along it. It's a beautiful book. And on the front, you can see there's, where the folds of leather are, there's this kind of like scrunched face that's pressed into the front of it.
Oh.
Hello, I am her assigned chaperone for her research. And,
We're not getting along, if it's not obvious. Well, last I knew, we were at the Cobalt Soul, and they gave me this little questionnaire to ask anyone, and they said, we don't know where you're gonna go. We know you get sick when you teleport, so we're just gonna let you get shunted. And then we just appeared here, and I was really hoping for a city, right? Don't you remember we talked, and I was like, God, I hope we get a city.
The intent was to go ahead and have us transported to one of the various major metropolitan cities that were nearby or were in proximity to one of the nexuses. And instead we were sent somewhere in the middle of nowhere, which is wondrous, isn't it?
It's so
great.
weird
It's
because
so
our
strange.
job is to collect first-hand experiences with the apogee solstice, and there's not exactly a good statistical sample size here.
No, this does not
there's
look well for your first real outing, does it? I think this will
No.
reflect poorly on your
Yeah, I
paperwork
know,
and your
and I
return.
think it's going to really make it hard for me to get finally promoted from an apprentice.
Unlike the previous guest players, these 3 new guest players don't seem to have any connection with the other party members. Remember, Deanna was Chetney's ex, and Frida was another lost automaton like FCG. Denise, Bor'Dor, and Prism don't have any apparent connection to Orem, Laudna, or Ashton, though of course that could change. Like I said a few episodes back, we got development on Chetney and FCG subplots, or B storylines, with Deanna and Frida. With this group, I don't see that happening, but who knows what Matt will pull out of his bag of tricks. We do have a common mystery, though. Everyone seems to have been bamfed to this location. I'm not sure what that's about, but I can't wait to find out. This episode is mainly catching up with Orem, Laudna, and Ashton, and getting to know Denise, Bor'Dor, and Prism. They all decide to travel towards a nearby village, and we do get some light combat with variations on shambling mounds. The most interesting part of this combat was Prism using her book to dimension door Orem out of the stomach of one of the shamblers. I think this is going to be a fun group. Will their run last 7 episodes like the previous group? Probably. What do you think? Let me know down in the comments, and consider subscribing to my channel because I'll continue having monthly updates. My thesis continues to be that the apogee solstice is the midpoint of the story, that is, if Matt is following any sort of traditional story structure. At this point, it looks like we are gathering information, which should be followed by a crisis. I'm kind of hoping the crisis is that they all end up on the moon, but who knows? Until we meet again, may all the books you read and all the campaigns you play be blessed.